Now for a look at the news making headlines in our Sunday papers. We are joined by Business Day political writer Theto. Theto, an interesting case story that not in the other big papers, but actually in the tabloid, which is called the Sunday World, the fact that the Sanco leader was arrested, over the weekend. I've got the actual charge sheet in my hand, and it says that he has been arrested on charges of fraud, theft, and corruption. Now, what makes this dramatic is, of course, that there was a Sanco national conference electoral conference happening right at the same time. What's going on here?
Well, the problems that have been presented or that have manifested in the alliance, of course, have affected Sanco. And because it's one of the most underreported about organizations, we have not been following some of the political issues and upheavals within Sanco per se. So there's obviously the fact that the timing of it has to be questioned, because these are issues, according to the articles, that date back to 2014. So if the 3 million rand indeed had been misused or even fraudulently used,
why wasn't it addressed
why
earlier?
was it addressed earlier, and why would an elective congress of this organization be the platform? But nonetheless, the charge sheet is real. I guess the police are pursuing an actual case.
Well, where does it all fit in, Karima, into the broader political thing, Zuma v. Ramaphosa and all of that kind of
I think it fits in a very real way. We've got a list conference that was held. Some of Sanco's members are on there. What is interesting is in the video of the arrest.
This is for the election.
Exactly. You actually hear the name Roy Moodley name.
Right.
Now, of course, Roy Moodley is the famous keeper of the president.
He was the guy who paid
exactly. And there's the belief that he wants to stage a takeover of this organization together with the former MEC of the Free State Arts and Culture MEC, and that this is all about that, and it's about wanting to control the list. Now, remember, there was a secret meeting held between President Zuma and Ace Magashule and other leaders, yes. But what is interesting for me, though, is, remember, the police can't issue a warrant. The person who issued this warrant is the head of the National Prosecuting Authority in KwaZulu-Natal, Moiponi Noko, and she is, of course, a very close ally of President Jacob Zuma and of Mr. Mrwebe, who's on the Bosasa list, and, of course, also a very close friend of Nqoba Jiba.
And it's interesting how all these intersections are just so glaring now that we would not have been able to link up a couple of months ago. And leading, of course, beyond the story is the mention of Jiba and Rebi's names in the Bosasa debacle. And I find interesting that, of course, the most instinctive response would have been to deny, but also the fact that they say, the Sunday Times reports that Jiba actually said in reply that if I had gotten this 10 million rand from Bosasa, why would I have been going through the kind of troubles that I've been going through with the NPA? So it's kind of interesting, but of course it is going to be incumbent on Agrisi, once he's cross-examined by all these other parties, to prove how indeed that money was paid over to Jiba and Rebi for whatever interference that they needed from the NPA. But of course, it's explosive, the kind of detail that we have in today's Sunday Times and the City Press on the breakdown of just exactly what these monies, the monopoly money, as Agrisi described it during the state capture inquiry this week, that it's mind-blowing that you'd need, as a public official who has been in such prominent positions that earn you quite a lot of money, to still demand or request or require a bribe pack, or even just bare necessities to go through a festive season, right? But also that, I think, is underlying of just the dependency on these extra funds. And we can't take lightly what Angelo Agrisi said in the beginning of his testimony, that you get accustomed to the lifestyle. If indeed it's true that Minister Nomvula Mokonyane had been getting this money since 2002 when she was an MEC in Gauteng, you have to really wonder just how much of it and how much more she's had to do in order to maintain this kind of gravy train.
Peter?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, it's appalling. What is good for us, and we have to keep reminding ourselves that it's good for us that we are finding all this stuff out. Thank God for the Zondo Commission.
Yes.
I think Mr. Agrisi is going to go to jail along with some of the Watson brothers and the people who took the money. We have a new head of the NPA starting work. You could
1st
count
of
the
February.
hours almost now. she's going to have no lack of people to prosecute.
Absolutely. Theto, thank you so very much. Peter, as always, a pleasure having you with me here on the show. Well, that's about it. You've had your fix for the week. Take care, and we'll see you again next week, Sunday.